Okay, here I am getting ready. I'm going to be putting the microphone on. In order to put the microphone on and not have it show, you're going to want to make sure that you fish it up underneath your outer layer here. So I'm actually going to turn this on and then I'm going to switch over to the other. Now the closer you get it up to your neck here, the more bass you're going to get in it. So I'm just going to go right about maybe a little bit higher. There we go. And you can notice that today I'm wearing a black shirt with a white background, so there's a lot of contrast there. It just means that there's less of me blending in with the background. If I had a white shirt on or a light colored shirt like I had on the other day, it would look a lot closer to the, I blended too much to the background. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on here. Okay, now we have the audio. I'm recording on this camera right here. And I've got my mark here, which is an X, which means whatever I'm lighting or whatever I'm going to focus to, finding that depth of field or the focus length there is, that is going to be to this X. So it's going to be from the camera to the X. Now, this is the iPhone. The iPod Touch is the one over here getting the wide shot. It does have a fixed lens, so it doesn't have adjustable focus, but it still has a really good picture, and it does have a clear enough focus. And it actually is a little bit wider, so that's why I'm using that as the wide shot. So over here we have the iPhone, and I'm talking directly to it. Now I'm looking at the lens. Now when you're actually doing this, you're going to want to make sure, I've got actually it's a bicycle mirror here, I can go on to that later, but what that's doing is allowing me to see what is on the other side of the camera, because I want to use that HD camera and not the other one, the FaceTime camera, which is standard definition. So what you want to do is make sure you're looking at the lens, because that's what people are going to, how they're going to make eye contact with you when you're shooting the video, when they're watching it. So every once in a while you can glance up, like before I shoot, I'm going to look up at the mirror, make sure I'm right in the center of the picture, I'm lit well, and everything looks good. I've got my mic on, and I'm pretty much ready to shoot. So that is how I set up. But before I do that, there are some things that I need to do to set up the camera. As far as if right now I'm doing this whole production as a one-man production with two cameras, so there's an added complexity here. Most times you're not going to have two cameras and have to light for both cameras and such, and have twice as many files and everything. So one of the things that is important is making sure you light well and that your focus is proper. You got a proper focus. So since I'm doing this on my own and I don't have this set up all the time, I'm going to show you the little trick that I use to do all that focusing and the lighting. Now what I have here, as you can see, this is pretty much right at the top of my head. I have a simple brown shirt, and what I have it hanging on is actually a microphone stand. It's a standard microphone stand with this, this adapter right here, which allows it to go up higher, and you can actually arch it over, over something if you need to. But what I do then is I actually will focus right here, because this is the plane of focus here between here and the camera. And so right now what we have is what we're going to focus on, and then also I'm looking for something that I'm going to put here that's similar in the gray tones, I guess you say, to my skin. And I found when I get the best lighting is when I'm right down in here. But you want to try it a couple times before you set your exposure. So when I set my exposure, I'm not going for the brightest parts like right here or right here. That's going to be too bright. So I actually will go down to some of the darker areas here. What that does is it brings the lights up, and it makes my backdrop, which is actually a little bit off-white, it makes it look bright white. I've also done my white balance. So white balance would be set when I'm standing out of the way, and I've set my focus and I've set my exposure so the backdrop is now exposed to be very bright white. And when I do that, what has happened now is I can select that as the white balance, and then I just lock the white balance in. So that's all there's to that. Now, if you didn't want to go with this microphone, you could actually go with a shotgun microphone and just have it right underneath. You can see right here, right underneath there, and have it pointing up. That way you're getting up close and personal, but you're not having to wear a mic, so you're not going to be seeing this. Sometimes that's better if you're actually shooting someone who has something that's difficult to pin a mic onto, which there are a lot of different types of clothing that is the case. So, but you also see that I have my lights here. I'm going to kind of talk about lights just briefly. These are all, I don't use any incandescent lights, just because there's you don't want to mix lights, and I use a daylight bulb for everything. So all you see here, these are all compact fluorescents, and they're all daylight bulbs. So they take a lot less energy, they throw out a lot less heat, and they're a very nice cool white. So it's a bright white light. There isn't that yellowish tinge to it as you would have with incandescents. Which is really important when you're doing your white balance, to make sure all your lights are at the same color temperature. I'm getting a little complicated here, but basically what I'm saying is you want to make sure you match all your bulbs. So the bulbs above my head and the bulbs here are all the same color temperature, which is it's a bright white light. So if you look over here, I have 4 across the back, I have 2 down here, and then I have 2 here. Now each one of these, they're called brooder lights, or they're just kind of a utility light. And those utility lights are, you can get it at like a Home Depot for about $7. They clip onto things, they're pretty sturdy, and you go ahead and you stick a compact fluorescent light in there, and that's what I do. Those just add to the light. So that light bulb, I believe I paid about $8 or $9 for each one of those light bulbs. So you can kind of add it up and figure it's not that much to have a lot of light. And it doesn't use a lot of electricity, which means you're not taxing your electrical system. You're not going to overheat any circuits or blow any breakers like you would if you had very bright incandescent lights. So that's kind of a rundown of what I have going on here. And you're seeing it from this back camera here because I wanted you to see something that's really important. Is a lot of times when you're setting up a studio, you got to feel like everything's got to look beautiful. And really all that matters is the sound and the video you capture. It doesn't matter what's going on behind the scenes. Because if you go into any television studio, you'll notice when you get behind the scenes, it's kind of messy back there. They have a lot of things they're storing. It's what they capture is the most important. And one other thing I want to talk about as far as my belief on how much you should spend on your video equipment. Like right here, these 2 bigger lights here is about $118 shipped to my house. And these brooder lights here, they do the job. And you have to understand, you have to really think about this before you spend a lot of money on getting everything perfect, before you think about getting a really expensive camera, paying $1,000 for 4 lights. What business are you in? Now, if you're an expert, you say you're an author, you're a veterinarian, you're any kind of thing. You're someone in sales, and what you're doing is you're using the media of video to get your message out. You're not a professional videographer. And once you get to the point where you can afford a $1,000 camera or a $2,000 camera, a digital SLR camera, a DSLR camera, very nice, high quality, and then you're going to spend maybe $1,000 on an editing program like Final Cut Pro, you need to realize that you can hire people to do those things. And once you're at that point where you're not shooting your own video, or you're ready to spend $3,000 or $4,000 on the whole setup, do you want to be a video producer? Are you producing video for other people? Do you have clients that you have coming in and you want to have everything set up always, all the time, and you want to own everything? So my recommendation is, if you're in the business of shooting video, then go ahead and at some point in the future, when you feel ready and comfortable with the setup you have, and after you use it for a while, you'll know what you want to upgrade. But for me, this is what I shoot with right now. I've used a lot more expensive equipment, but this is what I use because right now I am in the business of doing a lot of things. I'm marketing online, I'm an author, and some other things. But at the point where I want to spend that much money to own my own stuff, I'm going to hire it out. because that's a commodity. Once you understand this stuff, you know how to direct someone saying, I actually want this to be lit this way, or I want the titles to fly in this way. And you start to produce or be the director of these productions you do. You become quality control, and you know the language, you know how to communicate to someone who's going to be a video editor, or someone who's going to be your cameraman. You know how to communicate what you want to them better than if you never have done any of this. So this is an excellent way, as an expert, to record yourself, to get it up online and look great, and be respected in your field because of the quality that you produce. But the other thing is, if you go that next step and then spend another $4,000 on equipment, really that's not your business. Maybe for some of you it is, but if it's not your business, hire someone to do it. Concentrate on creating content. Concentrate on writing blog posts and articles and getting more videos out and doing what makes you the most money. Because don't play around with getting a bunch of stuff figuring that that's going to take you to the next level. Hire that stuff out. But for right now, you need to learn how to use this stuff for yourself so you know how to communicate to anybody you hire to do these things what you want as the director or as the producer. So that's what I have for the behind the scenes and a little bit of how I believe as an expert you should look at video production. So that's it for now. Take a look at the next video I have. Take care.